Now we go to the next second chance heat, and it's a capacity grid for senior Rotax. Let's have a look at the starting order. So starting from pole position, looks to be the only driver that might be on old tyres. It's Matthew Higgins from the UK. He's got Axel Goes from the Netherlands alongside on the front row. Montego Masson and Sim van Vliet on row 2. Adam Valsen, Jan Schultz, row 3. Spencer Broom and Matteo Pianizzola, row 4. Completing the top 10, it's Petra Babičková and Sverre Ubben. Kaz Boshaus and Andrea Kostic rounding at the top 12. Ragnar Simuland and Tonis Johannes Dominguez, that is row 7. Anton Morsing, Gussi van Gogh, Paul Hamburg, Benoit Tordima, Kor Korenik and Atyom Sestakovs ran at the top 20. Iva Anagnostiidis and Amanda Salonen, row 11, ahead of Stein Scholten, Rafael Jesus, Alexander Savinkov, Jack Webster, Frederick Zebis, Lawrence Herboz, Antoine Muller, and Romans Rodinovs, who complete the top 30. We're only going to have 35 drivers, as Elia Papasena has opted to non-start. Completing the grid, it's going to be Chloe Canard, Matthias Krohn, Tristan van Vliet, Simset, and Scott Westhovens. And I do have to give a birthday shout-out to Matthew Higgins' older sister, Lizzie. Many happy returns today. So the temperature is starting to increase in terms of the warmth I actually feel from the sun up above. So not as cloudy as yesterday. So should hopefully help with the evolution of the track over the course of the racing here today. So again, the time is set for another 7 minutes plus an additional lap. The rest of the field starting to get into formation at the tail end. Got to do this very, very rapidly indeed. So Higgins on pole position. Axel Goes alongside on the front row. They exit out of the final corner into the tram lines. Revs rise. Are we ready? Are we steady? Lights are out first time. Good start by Higgins. He leads the field, followed by Montego Masson into turns 1 and 2. And it's 2, 3, 4 wide at some points throughout the field. Yellow flags at Marshall post number 1. Someone has actually been off and was backwards and has just rejoined onto the circuit, but Higgins leads the way. Through onto the Europlan, there are a couple of late lunges going into turn number 6, and there's also some squabbling for position heading into turn number 7. That's about who will proceed through into the top 36. The remainder will go into the B final a little bit later on this morning before the lunch break, but Higgins is leading. Marston in second. Axel Goes rounds out the top 3. Then it's Adam Valster in the 382 representing the Netherlands, as now Montego Masson looks to go alongside Matthew Higgins down into turns 1 and 2. The German gets through before they hit the apex of turn 2. And nearly 3 abreast. Runoff areas nearly being driven onto by drivers as they carry a big old lick of speed going through. As now Axel Goes gets through on Matthew Higgins. Higgins in third position at the moment. Axel Goes towards the inside to take the defensive line into turn 7. And then Adam Valster up the inside of Matthew Higgins, and there is. That was Adam Valster that's got through. There's Matteo Pianizzola on the back bumper of the man from Trafalgar in Wales. Jan Schultz from Israel is currently sitting in P6. So Marston has a lead of 8 tenths over Goes. Then it's Valster, Pianizzola, Higgins, Schultz, Petra Babičková now up into 7th. Van Vliet, Ubben and Spencer Broom ran out the top 10. Spencer started in 7th position. Another change for position. Pianizzola up the inside of Valster. A little bit further back there is the 365 of Sim van Vliet, who's been passed by Sverre Ubben. Now there is a train, the Pianizzola train happening. further change has happened behind Matthew Higgins as Petra Babičková has got through on Yanin Schultz from Israel. So changes are afoot. Looks like Yanin Schultz is losing places hand over fist. And it's 3 wide going into turn number 1. One of the drivers looks to be Fredrik Zebis. Was towards the inside of turns 1 and 2. But Montego Masson leading the way. Leaders now, well, there's a big old train, a lot of strategic attacks happening from these drivers to try and make sure that they can secure themselves a place in the top 36. So Montego Masson heads towards the final corner as we are about to complete lap number 4. We've just gone past the halfway point on the timer. His lead now extends to 1.1 seconds, but there is Matteo Pianezzola up the inside of the Dutch driver. Through into second position goes the 366. Adam Valster, Matthew Higgins and Petra Babičková round out the top 6 at this moment with 3 minutes to go. But then that quickly changes because Higgins just gets passed by Babičková through into turn number 6. Sverre Ubben is not too far away from the pair in front, so is on the fringes of maybe making it into the top 6. And now he looks for the move up the inside of the 364 of Higgins. Gets through at turn 9. So 2.5 minutes to go. We're about to complete lap number 5. And Antoine Marler down in 20th position at the moment has set the fastest lap of anybody. And behind Matthew Higgins, Yanin Schultz and Fredrik Zebis are battling away over 8th position. So if they keep on battling, that's going to give a little bit of breathing room to the 364. The biggest bone of contention is that if Higgins gets a chance to go through on Sverre Ubben into 6th place, will he keep a hold of that place? More importantly, with the fact that he's decided to go out on older tyres, which puts him in a slight disadvantage in terms of the pace. If he was on fresh rubber, I know for a fact they'd be lighting the timesheets up purple, but there has been a couple of carts coming together, one of which is the 396. As there is a change now, Adam Valster, all 3 wide, Petra Babičková gets through on Axel Goes, and Adam Valster, she keeps it pinned to the outside of turn 3. Great awareness from Babičková. And now that could open the floodgates. Sverre Ubben, as now Axel goes up the inside of Valster, and Valster gets a turn, Valster gets a turnaround by Sverre Ubben, who I think maybe had nowhere to go. Axel Goes centred up the inside. Ubben and Higgins were right with them. And now that has changed everything. So the 396 was either Anagnosiidis, unfortunately involved in that, and I think it was Artyom Sestakovs that was the other party. They've dropped to the bottom of the order. 2 more laps to go, including this one. We're on to lap number 8 out of 9. In your top 6 at the moment, it's Masson, Pianezzola, Babičková, Goes, Ubben and Higgins, and that is a drama for, oh my goodness, Nate, now what on earth has happened there? That is for Fredrik Zebis, who was closing in on Matthew Higgins for 6th position, and for some reason the Dane went wide going into turn number 2. I think was trying to mount an offensive onto Higgins, and yeah, caught the rear of Higgins. Higgins managed to keep out of harm's way. Now Higgins has Jori Schoens behind him. And that's the battle for 6th position. There's also, it's going to be Yanin Schultz and Kaz Boshaus that are behind Matthew Higgins as we go on to the final lap of the race. 5-second time penalty going to the 3-4-3 of Gussie van Gorp. As Sverre Ubben looking to close in on Axel Goes. Matthew Higgins defending. from Jarin Schultz. He's got just over 2/3 of a lap to do so. But Montego Masson is away and clear. And Higgins goes defensive on Jarin Schultz, who gives him a little bit of an assist from behind through into the braking zone into turn number 7 to unsettle the 364 from Strawberry Racing. Leaders now making their way through towards the final part of the circuit as Montego Masson is one corner away from picking up the victory in the second chance heat. And it's the 394 that does so, takes the victory. Pianicola, Babichkova, goes. Ubben and Higgins will be the top 6 provisionally going through, with Montego Masson winning by just over 0.6 of a second. Jarin Schultz was only 1.5 away from getting through into the top 6. Kaz Boshouse, Sian Van Vliet and Lawrence Herbos ran out the top 10. Spencer Brougham, Rafael Jesus, Gussie Van Gogh, who will get a 5-second time penalty, provisionally finishes in 13th. Antoine Mahler, Frederick Zebis, Tonis Johannes Dominguez, Jack Webster, Adam Valster, Alexander Savinkov and Ragnar Simuland ran out the top 20. Chloe Canard, Kao Korenik, Andrea Kostic, Matthias Kroon, Benoit Tordima, Stein Scholtens, Scott Westhovens, Anton Morsing, Amanda Salonen, Paul Hamburg, Romans Rodinovs, Simsep, Tristan Van Vliet, Iva Anagnostiidis and Atyoms Sestakovs finishing a lap down, with Elia Papacena a non-starter.